Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman, and our next guest up really needs no introduction. Phil Sharkey of the Higher Authority. Always a pleasure to see you on Radio Entrepreneurs.
Hey, Jonathan, it's a pleasure. I'm glad to be with you today. I look forward to sort of sharing some information, some stats I have for you and the other business owners out there.
So as we've talked about off the air, and we often talk about in our segments, we're in a state of flux. You know, the only thing that's certain now is change, and with that change brings challenges in the employment field, the employment marketplace. And, you know, there are obviously companies that are struggling to get people in the door to work for them. And with that brings a whole host of issues. So why don't you tell us what you're seeing in the market?
Absolutely, Jonathan. And I do understand the situation in today's environment where so many employers are having trouble finding people. No one seems to want to work. They can't fill positions. Well, from what I'm seeing on the screening side of it, I'm really urging all clients, all businesses, small to large, to not stop their due diligence, not stop their best hiring practices, because I'm seeing worse numbers than ever. We usually see 30% turn out fraudulent on a background check. It's up close to 40%. That's for the entire year. So far as we just crunched our numbers. And again, Jonathan, that's a huge number when you think about it. This is not me sneaking and grabbing, a few people from your office and just randomly doing it. This is 40% of people who sign a release and authorization form are aware a background check is going to be conducted, and still, 40% are turning out fraudulent. We do between 500 to 1,000 backgrounds a month, and my math isn't really good, but that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to 400 people, again, that know I'll be doing a background check and say, oh, go ahead, Jonathan, go right ahead. And these numbers are showing up.
That's shocking to say the least. It's discouraging, but thankful we have people like you to try and vet some of those things out. And I would imagine at that 40% rate, some of them are innocuous enough, but the fact is that they are somehow not being truthful. And that's the big, larger concern, I guess, in some capacity, because it's usually the tip of the iceberg, right? If they're willing to lie on the way in the door, what's going to happen once they're in?
Well, you're speaking from my pulpit, to say the least, and you're exactly right. Not all are horror stories, but to me, it's a lie. And again, we're not Big Brother. I'm not coming down on people and spying in their trash and nothing in that regards. These are people that are meeting you and say, hey, Jonathan, nice to meet you, putting out their hand, well, if you're allowed today, and say, nice to meet you, I'm Phil Sharkey and I'm lying to you. So we always tell our clients, if they're lying today, even if it's lying about a degree or some type of employment history or a gap in employment, they've already shown you that they will do anything they have to do they will lie, they will not be trustworthy, or if a drug screen, or they hide their urine situation or brain falls urine. To me, it's like, I'm not even concerned about the results. It's the thought process of, this is a person that's going to be working for you. And what I'm seeing is small companies can be actually bankrupt or put under. Large companies can be greatly harmed. So I know it's hard to find people today, but these stats I have here for you are really astounding. I know you guys like the stats, so I like to bring them.
Absolutely. One quick question before, I'll give you sort of the prognosticator for a moment. Why do you think this is happening? Why do you think we're seeing a rise in the number of people that are fraudulently displaying themselves?
Yeah, I think
it's interesting because you would think that given the employment situation and employers being desperate to hire people, there'd be less need to lie about anything.
Jonathan, you're so right. You'd think you would be seeing the best of the best out there. But what I'm seeing from the results in my office is, I think all of us in the COVID situation, it's just gotten, you turn on the news, it's just a much more volatile society. What was somewhat questionable before is much more violent. People are more violent, more willing to say and do and feel empowered to create their own background and have the best resume ever, where you get into the thought process where they just have to be honest. That's what people don't understand. It's not the level of qualifications from my office. It's the honesty and integrity. An honest person goes a long way. Obviously, our clients need the qualifications for the job, but I just think it's the situation we're in coming out of COVID. Hopefully, people have been cooped up. There seems to be more pressure today. I don't know, rules and practices, raising people. I don't know what it is, but we're definitely taking a walk on the darker side. And again, I have a lot of pushback from my friends, even, your Big Brother and all. I'm like, no, I'm not. I have a signed release. I have the consent of the person. I just want them to be honest. I don't think that's too much to ask for, when you're about to pay someone in today's environment. It's just not.
No, you're absolutely right, and I'd love to hear some of the statistics of and hear some of the stories of what you're seeing, because I think those are what's really eye-opening to people, to say, wait a minute, for a relatively small cost, I can avoid a nightmare down the road.
It's true. And then I'll quickly just get to my desk, Jonathan. I want to leave without giving you about just an example on my desk today, just from this month. But the stats we have here from Leftronic, an employee recruiter firm, and this was taken just before the COVID's really slowed down businesses, but they had a stats of 75% of employees have stolen from their employer at least once. Employee theft costs U.S. businesses 50 billion annually. That's what it would be. I thought it would actually be even more. 59.1% of employees who commit thefts are male. So I guess we're representing well, you and I, the male population. 75%.
No integrity.
Yeah,
I think women are right.
I think there's no doubt about it. And then just finally, about 75% of US businesses are affected by time theft, which I thought would be higher. And the big one for me, Jonathan, is some violence at work. 20,790 injuries. This was in 2018 by a company called Injury Facts, occurred on the workplace, with 453 fatalities. And that's a big number. 21,000 people were injured at work.
Those are employee on employee assaults of some form? Wow.
Correct. And interesting enough, 71% were female and 64% were aged between 25 to 54. So again, if you're an employer and you just don't want to take the time to screen or do a background check, you just want that person, these are the risks you have. I know you'll get them in the door, but the ramifications could be astronomical. And I'll go through really quickly for you, Jonathan, as I don't want to use all our time, but this is from this month, July 15th. This is a hotel chain in Connecticut. Larceny, 3rd degree, 3 years jail, probation for 3 years. I feel like one of those Tonight Show people just throwing the files to the side. This is another hotel in Connecticut. Conspiracy to commit assault, 2nd degree with a dangerous weapon, 5 years jail. A car dealership in Maine, theft by unlawful taking, theft of a vehicle, probably a good place that they want to work. A hotel chain.
Is it considered theft if the keys are there?
I don't think so. Maybe just
talk about giving them the keys to the candy store, right?
Borrowing.
Yeah.
Here's a tougher one. Philadelphia hotel. This is too long to list. Aggravated assault, felony, possession of an instrument of crime, simple assault, reckless endangerment, conspiracy, intimidate a witness, burglary, and criminal trespass. So probably not someone you want checking in when you go on vacation.
And these are all examples, Phil, of real background checks that revealed things of applicants that typically, I would imagine, don't come up in conversation. Many employment applications will have you ever been convicted of a felony, correct?
They do, although now there's ban the box, which has taken that criminal question off the Massachusetts application and any other states, which makes it very difficult, again, for employers. And here's our government, our legislature, and I understand the thought behind it. I get a lot of people up in my grill regarding the argument of how dare you check, but I think these few examples show you that's why. So you no longer have the falsification of the application in that regard, but you still have the crime, and employers still do have the right to hire who they deem is best for the job. And if you have a car dealership and you have someone who's stolen cars, if you have a hotel chain and you have people who have committed fraud and violence on people, it surely is a big concern.
Absolutely. I mean, I could see, the need to know these types of things and at least go in with your eyes open, right? And I guess in some cases, does it preclude them from ultimately hiring a person if they can talk through the situation, the circumstances, et cetera? At least, as I said, going in with your eyes open.
It's a great point, Jonathan. I always tell people that the background check is information, and information gives you the power to make the best decision available. If you still like the individual, you can go back to them and say, can you explain this to me? And sometimes they can give you a credible answer and can explain it. Other times they tell you things you don't want to hear, or just it is what it is. And also, in every situation, most employers will ask, is there anything I should be concerned about? So the person has a chance to get out in front of a bad history, because I know the people who get in my face regarding, well, you're sneaking into the background and you shouldn't know that information. I think we do need to know that as a society, and the person needs to own who they are. And if they have changed, then show me you've changed and say, that was me back then, that's not me anymore. And what I see, unfortunately, too, the big tune is people get more defensive, and you can see that sort of animal coming out of them. And it's sometimes these are the beginning charges and not the ends, where I have drugs, I have someone attacking children, I have someone whose drug abuse ended with a 5-week-old passing away. Now I know these people are going to apply for jobs, but for my clients, I would not want to bring that ticking bomb on board. It's too great.
Absolutely. So great advice as always. And as I said earlier in the segment, it's a relatively inexpensive and painful process for an employer to go through with a prospective employee. And as you said, giving them the information and going in with their eyes open into an employment situation. One of the things I always talk to my clients about is hire slow and fire quickly. And this is part of that process. Too many people meet people and, oh, seem like a great person, let's offer them a job. It's like, wow, you had a 15-minute meeting. Do you really know the person's character? Do you really know what they stand for?
It's great. It's great advice, Jonathan. It really is. And it's like, I guess it could turn out fine. That's the way you want to run your business. I guess I'm not on guesses. I'm on the numbers and the stats, and the stats tell me that 40% of the time, it's not going to turn out fine.
Well, great stuff as always, Phil. If people want to reach out to you, talk about your services, talk about how to engage you and get you to help them in making good decisions in the hiring process, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Very easy, Jonathan, on the web at hireoff.com. That's hireauth.com. The number here is 508-230-5901. You can also email me directly at psharkey@hireoff.com, and we're ready to take on anyone and assist them in this process.
Excellent. Our guest has been Phil Sharkey, President of the Hire Authority. Always a pleasure to have you on Radio Entrepreneurs. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jonathan.
And we'll be right back with another segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.